All right, so let's get into it. Every once in a while, a story pops up in music that feels like it's been pulled straight out of a time capsule. It completely rewrites a piece of history you thought you knew inside and out. And that is exactly what just happened with the one and only Neil Diamond and the legendary producer Rick Rubin. So picture this, it's 2026, and boom, a brand new Neil Diamond album called Wild at Heart just drops. 10 new songs, cool cover art, and at first glance you'd think, awesome, a new record from a legend. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, the real story here is anything but. Because here's the kicker. These new songs, they were actually recorded almost 20 years ago. Yeah, they were born during this incredible white-hot burst of creativity and then just locked away, put in a vault. Their story was just left hanging. So the big question is, why release them now? What is this album really all about? Okay, to really get what's going on, we have to rewind the clock. We're going back to the mid-2000s, to the very beginning of one of the most unlikely partnerships in modern music. And I mean, just look at this matchup. It's like two different universes colliding. On one side, you've got Neil Diamond, the ultimate showman, right? We're talking sequins, big orchestras, glossy productions. Then on the other side, you've got Rick Rubin. The guy is basically a Zen master of less is more. He just brought Johnny Cash back in this huge way by stripping everything down to its raw core. So putting these two in a room together, man, it was either going to be a total train wreck or absolute magic. And that really gets to the heart of the Rubin method, if you want to call it that. See, he didn't want the Neil Diamond the entertainer. He wanted Neil Diamond the songwriter. He basically told him, forget the big production, just pick up your acoustic guitar and let's get back to what matters. Your voice, the song, the story. It was all about digging down to find that raw, honest, beating heart of the music. And what happened next? Well, it wasn't a train wreck. It was a full-blown renaissance. This crazy, unlikely pairing didn't just work. It sparked some of the most powerful and acclaimed music of Neil Diamond's entire career. Seriously. I mean, you just have to look at the results. They speak for themselves. First, they dropped 12 songs in 2005. The critics go wild. They're calling it his best album in decades, a total comeback. But then came 2008 and Home Before Dark. And that album, it did something that had never, ever happened before. For the first time in his entire legendary multi-decade career, Neil Diamond had a #1 album. Just let that sink in for a second. After all the hits, all the sold-out tours, it was this raw, stripped-back, intensely personal record with Rick Rubin that finally put him at the very top of the charts. The renaissance was complete. So that brings us right to the recording sessions for that album, for Home Before Dark, and calling them productive is a massive understatement. It was more like a creative volcano erupting. The songs just wouldn't stop coming. Even Rick Rubin, a guy who's seen it all, looked back on it with total awe. He told Neil, "You wrote a lot of songs in a brief window there. You were on fire." I mean, coming from Rick Rubin, that says it all, right? It was just one of those rare, magical moments where pure inspiration takes over. And Neil was right there in it, totally consumed. He wasn't just writing these songs, he was living inside them. He said it himself. I couldn't stop myself. I was living with these songs for about a year. They were part of my everyday life. You can just feel that passion, that total immersion in the art. And get this, look at the band he had in the studio with him to capture all this magic. We're talking about Mike Campbell and Benmont Tench, the literal heart and soul of Tom Petty's Heartbreakers. Plus, these incredible guitar players, Smokey Hormel and Matt Sweeney. This wasn't just a band. This was an absolute dream team, assembled to bring that intimate, powerful sound to life. Which brings us all the way back to today. Back to 2026, and the surprise drop of Wild at Heart. Now you see why this isn't just the record label dusting off some old tapes from the vault. Oh no, this is something much, much bigger. This is the final piece of the puzzle. And this is really the most important thing to understand about this album. The songs you hear on it, they're not outtakes, they're not B-sides or leftovers. Both Neil and Rick are clear on this. These 10 tracks were always meant to be the final chapter, the third act to a story that, until now, was left unfinished. I mean, Neil Diamond himself put it perfectly. He said, "I'm so gratified that these songs will finally be set free into the world to complete our trilogy of work."
And that's the key phrase right there from the man himself: complete our trilogy. This wasn't an afterthought, it was destiny.
So when you lay it all out, the picture becomes so clear. You've got this beautiful three-part story. 2005's 12 Songs, that was the creative rebirth. 2008's Home Before Dark, that was the stunning commercial peak. And now finally, Wild at Heart arrives as the emotional, long overdue final chapter that ties it all together.
And really, that's the soul of this whole thing. Wild at Heart is more than just an album. It's the sound of a true master, a showman of the highest order, stepping away from all the glitz and glamour, and with a little help from a genius producer, finding his way back to the most powerful thing of all: just a man, his voice, and his guitar. It's just a perfect ending to an incredible story.
And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? I mean, if a treasure like this, the final piece of a secret trilogy, could sit on a shelf, unheard, for nearly 2 decades, what else is out there? What other masterpieces are just sitting in a vault somewhere, waiting to rewrite history all over again?